What's up everyone, this is Brandon from Wealth Potion, and today's video is going to be a bit more personal. It's been just over a year since I quit my full-time job and became a full-time content creator. And that's exactly what I want to talk about today, which is this concept of full-time. If you're new to the channel, my name's Brandon, and I worked in tech for over 10 years across sales, marketing, and product. And my wife also worked in tech for over 5 years in many of those similar roles, and we both recently switched to become content creators. My wife did this close to 2 years ago, and I followed in her footsteps just about a year ago. Now, this was also around a similar time that we moved from Canada to South Korea. And whenever our friends or family come to visit and they ask me, what is it like being a full-time content creator? To be honest, I sometimes struggle answering that question. And I think a lot of it has to do with not the content creator part, but the full-time part. Recently, my wife and I just got back from vacation in Okinawa, Japan. It's a wonderful little island, very far south from the main kind of body of Japan. It's a very quiet and peaceful little city, and it's a perfect place to really recalibrate and really think about 2025 and what our priorities are. And if you want to see more, you can check out my wife's channel where she'll be posting a vlog on our trip shortly. Anyways, the reason that I bring up Okinawa is that on trips like this is where it becomes most apparent how our mindset has shifted from when we worked in corporate in a 9-to-5 job, working 40 hours a week, and shifting into becoming content creators where your schedule is extremely fluid. You do not have a boss or a manager that you report to other than yourself and maybe the clients that you work with. This is, I believe, the 5th vacation that we've taken, at least since my wife became a full-time content creator. And it's on these vacations that really challenges our mindset. Because again, coming from a corporate world where you work a full-time job, a vacation very much feels like an escape. I know this is not going to apply to everyone, but for those of you that watch this that are at least somewhat frustrated with your job, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You look forward to vacations. You plan them. You just grind out your work just for those final few weeks, but you're super excited to go on vacation because that's when you can fully unplug from your work life. That's when you can really enjoy your life for once. And I know I'm being a bit hyperbolic here, but it really does feel like an escape from your normal menial life. And one of the downsides of this is that when it's time to leave your vacation, you start to dread it. You start to feel like you don't want to go back to your work life. And it's like that expression, Sunday scaries, except a lot stronger. And so at first, when we started going on these vacations under this new paradigm, not working in a 9-to-5 job, to be honest, it felt a bit uncomfortable. And part of this is because we're still kind of working on these trips. Because we're content creators, we can create content on these trips, and oftentimes when you film content when you're abroad, that content does really well. So you are incentivized to continue working on vacation. But in my opinion, it goes a bit deeper than that. It has to do with this relationship we have between work and life. In the corporate world, your work and your life are completely separated. And I think this is why there's so much discourse around this term work-life balance. When people work a corporate job and they say that they have good work-life balance, what they really mean is that their work doesn't suck that much. And that's a really unfortunate way to live your life. If work is this negative that you're just trying to minimize the negative and make it not as bad as it possibly could be, is that really work-life balance? And I think even the phrase work-life balance, it pits work and life against each other, like there's something that need to be balanced on a seesaw, when in reality, work and life should be integrated. Your work should not feel like you can't live your life. And so again, to bring this back to vacations, at first, probably for our first 3 or 4 trips, we came back from vacation feeling like we didn't fully enjoy it because we were still working, we weren't fully unplugging like we were when we took vacations in the corporate world. But over time, and especially on this latest trip to Okinawa, I think we both realized that this is actually a much better, healthier relationship with vacations. Vacations should not feel like you are completely unplugging from work and getting to escape your quote-unquote regular life. If you're familiar with the TV show Severance, I don't watch the TV show, but my basic understanding is that there's a character or many characters, they work at this mysterious corporate job, but when they go to work, they enter an elevator and they completely disassociate. So their work self is completely unaware of what they do outside of work, and their outside of work self is completely unaware of what they are doing at work. Of course, Severance is a sci-fi TV show, but I think it hits on a very fundamental feeling that a lot of corporate workers feel, which is that their work life is not their real life. And I genuinely think this is one of the reasons the TV show is so extremely successful. There is a grain of truth in the TV show that many people feel when they go to work. So why am I sharing all of this with you? Again, I think it's because I was so ingrained in that old system that now that I'm outside of it, I realize just how much I was brainwashed by this corporate world. Why do we work from 9 to 5? Why do we work 40 hours per week? And on this note, if you're working a full-time job, be honest with yourself. Do you really work 40 hours a week? How many hours out of your 8-hour day are you actually productive? And conversely, how much of your day is filled with pointless meetings or socializing with your coworkers or taking coffee breaks or bathroom breaks? It's this kind of work structure that I want to kind of point towards with this video. I think it's largely an illusion that has been foisted upon us from generations in the past. I will do more videos on this if there is interest. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you've experienced this kind of disassociation as well, or if you've worked in the corporate world and have transitioned out into an entrepreneurial role or a content creator or freelancer type role where you can see the corporate world for what it is. I'm sharing this with you very raw because I'm still figuring it out as well. And I think there's a reason why it keeps coming back into my brain, because I'm still unlearning all of those bad habits and the structures and rules of this old system. And because of that, I'm not getting to fully enjoy the benefits of the new system. I'll share with you one other experience that I've had many, many times, and I believe my wife has had similar experiences, where we meet other content creators or entrepreneurs or just people that live this kind of unorthodox life where they're not working a full-time job. It's very easy for us to identify when that person has worked in corporate before or they haven't worked in corporate before. And don't get me wrong, it's not all negative. The people that come from corporate tend to be a bit more organized, a bit more professional, they know how to negotiate, they know how to do business. But the downsides are that they often feel guilty that they aren't doing enough. Whereas the people that we meet that have kind of been in this entrepreneurial world or content creator world for a longer time, they seem to be much freer in how they are creating their content, and they aren't holding themselves to the standard that the corporate world set. For me, this is most apparent in the Bitcoin community, where a lot of people are not working a typical 9 to 5 job, but many of them are pursuing very creative endeavors. They either are content creators themselves, or they just live very eclectic lives and are extremely fulfilled, and they're creating something very interesting that if I were still in my corporate job, I probably would have balked at, not just because I didn't understand it, but because I would have been judgmental and thought that they weren't actually being productive in this traditional corporate sense. When in reality, now that I'm out of my corporate job, if I look back on my work, of course, I feel like I was productive. I generated revenue for all these businesses, and I completed marketing campaigns, and I helped improve our products. But really, what impact did I have on the world? It's an uncomfortable question to ask for many people, especially when you've dedicated years, if not decades of your life to a particular work product. And so I'm starting to go out of scope from what I want to talk about, but the main things I want to communicate through this video, whether you are working in a 9 to 5 corporate job now, or if you are more entrepreneurial and you live this more freelancer life, or if you are making that transition or plan to make that transition, it's these things. Number one, be aware that the corporate world, although it does provide structure and a steady paycheck, it comes with a lot of mental barriers and habits that you will need to unlearn if you do plan on starting your own business or leaving that world someday. Two, really think hard about what work-life balance means, and don't just think in the terms that your employer wants you to think in terms of. What is true, genuine work-life balance? If you found out that you had some terminal illness and you only had 6 months to live, How would you think about work-life balance? And last but not least, with regards to productivity, I'd invite you to expand your definition of productivity to include all the things in your life that you want to improve and not just the work tasks that you want to implement. And I'll admit, as I look back on the last year, the corporate startup tech side of my brain thinks to itself, oh, there's so much more I could have done with regards with Wealth Potion. I could have put out more videos. I could have wrote more articles. I could have created my first product. But on the flip side, I've been learning Korean a lot faster than when I was working a corporate job. I got diagnosed with cancer and had it surgically removed, and knock on wood, am now cancer-free. And thirdly, I've deepened my faith. I've started reading the Bible more, and I have a much healthier sense of what my priorities are in life. Work is not the top of the pyramid. I hate to break it to you. And so I really hope that someone out there is watching this video and it challenges you to rethink productivity, to rethink work-life balance, and to make that change in your life that you've been putting off and procrastinating. Because tomorrow is not promised, but you have right now to take that action. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.